Hi and welcome back to the FreeFormKnits YouTube channel. I'm Haxann Evers at Knit and Crochet, whose FreeForm Crafting led us all to design. If you're new to my channel, thank you so much for coming. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. If you haven't already, be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos. I upload every Tuesdays and Fridays. There's always new and exciting crafty things to talk about. All the links to any patterns I talk about, as well as links to my Ravelry Shop, my Instagram, my blog, where you can find free patterns. All of that is in the down bar below, so be sure to check those out if you're interested. We are Wednesday, 10th or 11th of November. I have no idea of the date, as usual. Coming back to you a week later from my last episode, and I would just like to take a moment and thank all of you who have subscribed to the channel. I've noticed a lot more people watching my podcasts and tuning in, and it just means a lot to me that you took time out of your crafty day to craft with me. So the reason I started this channel was to connect with other knitters and crocheters, and I hope my videos bring you some inspiration in your crafts. So if you could take a moment and comment below something you are working on, I would love to hear about it and get some inspiration from you as well. Once again in the basement, and we have basement lighting, and I don't know how I feel about this light in the corner here, so if you'll excuse me. Okay, I think that's as good as we're gonna get. So let's just hop into finished objects. So I have one finished object to show you, and it was not a work in progress last time. This was started and finished in one day, and it is this simple hat. And it is made out of yarn bee, it must be merino, in probably the silver colorway. It's just something I have had in my stash for a long time. And I believe it's a blend of 50% merino wool, 25% acrylic, and 25% nylon. The reason I whipped up this little hat was because I wanted to try these iron-on design things. I talked about it a few episodes ago about how I planned for a sweater. Well, I thought better of making a whole sweater and experimenting with this iron-on design and do a little hat. So that was the plan, and I did it, and can I just say it turned out way better than I ever expected. It's like perfect. It's this perfect iron-on little turtle, and I love it, and I'm kind of obsessed and want to get a bunch of these and just make a bunch of hats and put them on because it's so cool. It works perfectly. It's like, I guess logically there should be no reason why like it works with like t-shirts, that's what they're meant for, and why it couldn't work on knitwear, but I was just very hesitant and worried, but it worked out great, and I'm really happy with the results. So I actually filmed the whole process of me experimenting with this and trying it, ironing it on, and that video will be coming to my channel very soon. And yeah, I really love it and just want to make a bunch of hats with these little appliques. Like, it's just so perfect. And just a great way to dress up like a plain beanie. Like if you were making, like, especially with like gift knits, you know, if you want to make people hats, but like you don't want to, maybe they're not into cables, or maybe you don't want to put a lot of work into a hat that you're not sure if they're really going to love. You could get a little iron-on design and put that on, and something that you know they'll love, like a character or a phrase or anything, or just so many cool ideas. So this is this finished object, and I really love it, so keep a lookout for that video when it comes out. So I have 3 works in progress to talk about with you today. I have no more finished objects. I could have had I worked on certain things, but I instead did not. I just mostly cast on new things. 2 of these whips are new, but this one you saw last time. This is my star-shaped blanket. I followed the tutorial by the Crochet Crowd. I think the Bernat blanket was what that tutorial was showing. But I followed the video just because could not understand written instructions for starting the shape. It's really easy once you get started, but I just could not read the pattern, any patterns. I tried so many. I just could not follow it. It didn't make sense reading it, but seeing it done, very easy and very easy to maintain, and I made so much progress. Look at that. So this marker was where I was last time. This is my a marker from Knit Picks, one of their enamel stitch markers, and so that's the lowest point of the star, so I was about here. I've made so much progress. The yarn I'm using is yarn bee cotton wheel solids, right? Sugar wheel cotton solids in the lovely lilac color. I had a full skein, I had a partial skein, and then I found a little bit in my stash of like what I wound off of another skein. So I guess total I had a little bit more than 2 full skeins of this yarn, and they're 142 grams of 100% cotton. So I'm just using this up in this blanket, and I'm using a 4.5mm hook. This yarn is kind of like a fingering to light decay, so I've never made a blanket in this gauge before, and it feels really nice. It's just such a nice cotton, and the yarn is going much further than I anticipated, so it's good. I really love it. It's a nice crochet fabric, nice gauge, just lots of double crochet, very easy to read your work. I don't have to count anymore, which is a shocker for me, because I'm the kind of person when I'm crafting something, I need to count things like a dozen times over, even if it's something small, like, because I'm just paranoid. But it's really easy to, like, you know where you should be with this. Like, it's just very easy to read your work and to just trust that you're right where you should be. So I'll have that tutorial by the Crochet Crowd linked below if you are interested, in the description box. So such a great pattern, and it's so much fun. And like, I've seen on Ravelry like a blanket pattern where like they did like this shape, but they did it in like this navy blue black, and then they put other crochet shapes of like planets and stuff on it. It looks so cool, and I want to do that one day. So yeah, this work in progress. Very nice, very easy, lovely rhythm of double crochet for ages, and it's great. So put that in there. Okay, moving on to my next work in progress. My next work in progress is in this project bag. It is a new sweater. So this Tuesday I put a yarn haul video up on my channel talking about some sweater quantities I bought and some ideas for sweaters I really need to cast on. So I finally casted on one. I did decide the fate of the sweater I showed last time, the Annette sweater by Hobby Yarns. I'm gonna frog it. I'm just not enjoying it and don't want to work on it, even though I love that's the shape I'm going for, the raglan cropped shape. I'm not ready for a bottom up sweater. I'm not enjoying it as much as I thought I would, so I'm going to rip that out and make a different sweater. But I started a new sweater. This is the Southwood pullover by Galt House of Yarn, and here's the picture. It's a free pattern, and what drew me to this sweater has a funny story. What drew me to this sweater was not just the raglan shape, but how oversized it was. It looked like it had that like perfect store-bought sweatshirt shape, you know? And so that's what drew me to this pattern. Now, when I make sweaters, I usually have to, especially raglans, top-down raglans, I usually have to alter them because my body shape, like, I'm very boxy up here. Like, I compare my arms like kind of like Lego arms. I don't have much of a yoke. Like, my arms are kind of just stuck on. So while I need like the yoke increases for my bust measurement, I don't necessarily need all that extra ease under the arms. So I usually have to end up modifying the sweater patterns I make so that I get what I need for the arm circumference, but not so deep, but yet still get the measurements I need for my bust, if that makes any semblance of sense. I usually need to shorten the yoke, essentially, while still getting the right stitch counts for my arm and my bust. But specifically for this pattern, I was drawn to it because of, like, it seemed like that perfect shape, that just boxy sweater without, not boxy, but like big comfy sweatshirt without what am I trying to say? Without, like, the reason I have to make those modifications is because I get so much extra fabric under my arms, and that drives me crazy. But this seemed like perfect. It just looked perfect and looked like, not that it would look too big on me, but look like comfy and oversized. So that's what drew me to the sweater. So I am far in the sweater. Here it is. I separated from my yoke. I didn't even cop out on the short rows. It called for there's an option to do short rows, and I did the short rows. I think I messed them up. I think I probably accidentally copped out, like, just because it was hard to see how many short rows I had done. Like, it tells you how many to do, and I think I ended up accidentally hopping out. I didn't intend to, but there is a difference between the back and the front. Like, it is a little bit higher. And so I might have accidentally messed with the short rows. I didn't intend to, but I did the short rows in the first place, which is a plus for me because I usually don't do them for the neckline. And then I did the increases. They look so good. And then I separated for the sleeves. And I followed the pattern, or I thought I did. I separated the sleeves and I'm like, you know, this yoke looks shorter than it does in the pattern picture. I wonder why that is. Well, as it occurs to me as I'm like an inch down from where I separated, it occurs to me to check the pattern. And in my defense, it's a weak defense, but still, in my defense, so there's the instructions for the raglan. It's a free pattern, so I'm not giving anything away by showing it. It, you know, says raglan round 1, raglan round 2 on the bottom, and then it gives you the stitch counts of what you're supposed to have after you finish your increases. So I took that and thought, okay, well then, that means it's time to separate. And I've knit raglans before, so I just separated because I had, you know, how many stitches I'm supposed to have in each section. Had I bothered to turn the page, I would have seen continue to knit without increasing. I would have seen that had I turned the page. I didn't, but in my defense, it was on the next page. So I was supposed to knit, I think, at least 2 inches for my size before separating. I did not, and I'm not ripping it out. Because had I not wanted that big over comfy size fit, I would have done this anyway. I find it humorous that I did this, but whatever, it doesn't matter. So I'm knitting a medium size on a US 9 5.5mm needle. I'm right on gauge. I don't know about row gauge because I didn't bother to check that. I meant to check that. Oh, actually I am on row gauge. I think I'm right on gauge, spot on. I checked my row gauge when I wasn't sure why my yoke wasn't long enough without realizing I had skipped an instruction. And I'm knitting the medium. The yarn is, I love this yarn in the Arctic Ice colorway. Here's my floppy skein. I'm gonna finish this skein before I do the sleeves. That's how I like to do it, just that I like to use up one skein and then go back and knit the sleeves just so I'm sure it gets done. I did make one modification, and this ties into how I like to modify it for my underarm and still make sure I have the right stitches for my bust measurement. When I separate for a raglan, I will like, it'll tell you to cast on stitches under the underarm. So this pattern, it tells you to, for my size, cast on 12 stitches, because when you go to knit the sleeve, it wants you to pick up 12 stitches in this underarm gap. Well, if I do that, if I cast on 12 stitches and pick up 12 stitches, it'll be very holey. Like, there'll be a lot of little holes and I'll have to weave it in, weave my tail in to eliminate some of those holes. So what I like to do to make the space smaller, I cast on half that number of stitches. So I casted on 6 stitches, but I will still, when I knit the sleeve, pick up 12. Like, I'll easily be able to fit 12 stitches in this pickup space, and that'll just make my underarm neater and tighter. But for the body, so I cast on 6 stitches, I knit around, and then I just increase those 6 stitches. So I still have my 12 stitches for the bust measurement, but it's just a nicer, easier space for to make my underarm neater. It's just a little hack I do for my sweaters, just so that it's neater and I don't end up with ugly seams under the underarm that are like bulky. So that's the only modification I made, the only intentional modification I made. I think it'll still be a fine sweater. It'll be good, it'll be warm, oversized. I have my flax sweater. I made a flax out of this brand of yarn, and it's like my warmest sweater, and that might be due to the shape, but just this comfy yarn, this pretty color, it'll be really nice. So that's all there is about this one. Just a nice, I've been knitting on this in the evenings, just taking it out and getting a few rounds in. Nice to have, even though with the mistake of not reading the pattern, which really, anyone could have told you that that was going to happen. If you don't read the pattern, you're going to miss something. It's still going relatively well. which is surprising because like all the sweaters I made in the past, a couple times, not all the sweaters I made in the past, just recently, there have been mistakes and ended up being frogged, but I don't see this being frogged anytime soon. So I look forward to finally having a new knitted sweater in my collection of hand knit sweaters. Okay, and the last work in progress is in this little bag. It's finally a sock. I don't think I know I did finish a pair of socks last time. I say finally a sock. I feel like I haven't knit socks in such a long time. But it is not the sock I should be working on. It is a different sock. It's pink though, because it's not like I have a pink sock waiting to be finished. But I started this sock because I wanted to get back into my sock knitting, obviously. And just kind of just for me to finish the pink socks, the lacy pink socks I showed 2 episodes back. And I actually sat down and finished pattern writing today, so I just have to knit the second sock. So that will happen. But this sock it started out being my Delightful Knit sock pattern, which is my DK weight sock pattern. It has different cup options, different texture options. If you're looking to get into DK socks, that's a good pattern. And it started being using the garter rib option. But then I thought, I don't want to do garter rib. I want to change it up a little bit. So it accidentally became my garter rib bliss sock, which is one of my fingering weight sock patterns. But this is a DK weight garter rib bliss sock. So kind of a conglomeration of my 2 patterns, but it looks so good. And it's got my shortcut heel and garter stitch, and I'm really enjoying it. The yarn is Yarn Bee Sweet Delight in the Bow Pink colorway. Just been plugging away on this. That's all the knitting and crochet content for this episode, but there is one more thing I want to talk about, which surprisingly enough is spinning. So as I mentioned last episode, and as you might be able to tell from the background behind me, I kind of fixed up my crafting space, reorganized things, and decided to finally devote the time to spinning, drop spindling. I originally, starting out this year, wanted to really like spend a minimum of 5 minutes a day, every couple, at least 5 times a week spinning. That did not happen. But I recently I've been taking the time to sit down and spin every night, and I've actually made yarn. Wow. And this is the first skein, this little mini skein I made, and I'm not good at spinning by any means, but I do, every time I sit down to spin, I surprise myself by how not bad I am. I'm not good, but I'm not bad. Like, I have some spots in here that are pretty good. Like, let me show you. Like here. This is just a basic 2-ply, and it's not bad. That's pretty consistent. Like, and then I have other spots that are not nearly consistent, but I do surprise myself that it's amazing the progress you can make if you actually sit down to do it, you know? And this has not been, I haven't like wet this or to like set the twist or anything. It's just a little mini skein, and it's got fluff. What I use to spin is just, I don't know, it's Yarn Bee. It's like these, if you shop at Hobby Lobby, they have like these big skeins of fiber that it's supposed to be like for thrumming mittens and just like these big bulky things. I don't have any of the wrappers, the labels. Maybe I can put it on the screen if I look on their website. But that's what I use to spin, and I'm actually... Did I finish? I think I did finish. Yes, I did. I had some singles in my stash that I had done before I just put it away for months, of this blue, of the same type of thing, and I'm surprised about how this one was so much more consistent, because I had spun it a while ago when I was really consistent with my spinning, like in terms of the time I give to it. And there are some parts of this that are really consistent. Like, that's not half bad. Like, there are other parts in here. I'm just really surprised. Like, I think one of my blocks was sitting down to spin is like, oh, I'm not good at it. And I'm not. But I'm better than, if you want to get good at something, you have to do it. Like, there's just no way around that. And I'm surprised about how decent I am at it, considering how sporadic. Like, I've had this drop spindle, how long? Probably over 5 years, and like that's my spinning journey right there. Like, just maybe a solid week throughout those 5 years of me trying to spin, and I'm not bad. I'm not good, but I'm not bad, and I'm kind of proud of, you know, the little spinning I do isn't horrible. Yeah, that makes sense, you know. This is how I've been plying. I found this, I've seen this before, but I took this little shoebox and I stuck some knitting needles. These were actually my first knitting needles, by the way, these little aluminum needles, and I just wind my singles onto them, and then it just makes plying so much easier. I was, for a time, just taking these little like cardboard cutouts of like wrapping paper, and like winding them into cakes and then plying the cakes on themselves, like one from the inside, one from the outside, which is just so much easier if you can have a shoebox and some knitting needles. I actually put stoppers on them so they wouldn't fall out. So that's my little spinning setup. Once I wind this off, I will probably draft a new, or maybe I have some more singles, and all my spinning supplies are in this like bread box up there. That's where I keep my fiber and stuff. So if I don't have any more singles hanging out in there, I will prep some new fiber for a new spin. So that'll be exciting. Just tuck that away. So I guess this actually is a finished object. So 2 finished objects for today's episode. Maybe it's just the episode where I like forget things to talk about, because I've had to get up and grab other things that I forgot to talk about. I have one last thing to talk about to you today, and it is design talk, and it is about these socks, the Boxel socks. The Boxel sock pattern was a pattern I published, one of my first sock patterns, maybe my second sock pattern, if I'm correct in remembering that. Maybe the third, I don't remember, but I am finally updating it. I'm updating it to have 5 sizes, charts, and written instructions, and my shortcut heel in both stockinette and garter stitch. And this is the sock, and my hat trick toe, because I love my hat trick toe. This is the sock. It is a rib-based sock, but it's not just 2x2 ribbing, because I don't know about you, but ribbing and me. I love ribbing. I love how ribbing looks. I love what it does. It's stretchiness, but I get bored with ribbing. But in the Boxel socks, you have not just ribbing going on. It's some combination of knits and purls and twists, just to make it so that it's not boring and it's fun, and you still get stretchy rib socks. So here's a close-up of the texture. These little boxes and these little faux cable twists. It's so pretty. And the back has some garter stitch going on every once in a while. So it's just a really fun textured sock. It's so nice. It feels so great on. And these will be updated November 15th. So as of right now, you can purchase the original version of the Boxel socks in my Ravelry shop. When the pattern is updated, the price will go up. So if you want this pattern, buy it now at its lower price, and then come with the release, when it's updated on the 15th, that updated file will be added directly to Ravelry Library. So you take advantage of its lower price now, and that way you will get the updated version come the 15th. So yep, it'll have 5 sizes as opposed to, I think it has 3 right now. It'll have my shortcut heel in both stockinette and garter, as well as a video tutorial to show you how to do the shortcut heel, my hat trick toe. Yeah, it's such a great sock, and I love the texture of it. I love a good texture sock. I think I talked about, I have mostly in my personal sock drawer, mostly vanilla socks, and that has to change, because I love a good textured sock. I love the different feels of the texture knitting them and how it feels on your foot, and this is just such a nice stretchy sock. So yeah, that will be updated the 15th, so be sure to I'll have a link to my Ravelry shop below where you can check out this pattern, and be sure to follow me on Instagram for more updates concerning this pattern update. Yeah, that makes sense. Words. But yeah, I'm really excited about these. Okay, I think that is everything. I think I remembered everything I wanted to talk with you about this week. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to me ramble. If you haven't already, be sure to comment down below on something you were working on. I would love to hear about a work in progress that is bringing you joy and that is making your crafting life great. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching and happy crafting!